the Charlotte Hornets pick is in your hands, Tyler Metcalf. We will stay silent. You do what you think is best. Don't let us influence you.
I mean, if I'm the Hornets, I'm sprinting to the podium to make this pick. Number one player on my board, Stephon Castle. I think he's one of the best perimeter and all-around defenders in the country or in this class. Really showed a his how much he sacrificed this year at UConn was incredible, because he was really highly touted recruit coming out of high school, and he wanted to win. He wanted to win and he wanted to get better. And in high school, he was basically the point guard. He was the offensive engine for his teams. He dropped 40 points on Ron Holland in high school. And this year at UConn, he put all of that aside. He played a role. He just got rid of basically all of his offensive responsibilities and did the dirty work. He turned into an incredible defender, awesome rebounder, ran in transition like a madman, still showed some of those playmaking flashes that we saw in high school, and was really active as a cutter. So I think his versatility, I think he has a lot of long-term upside to kind of grow into more of a physical offensive creating forward, a la Jimmy Butler. Not saying he's going to turn into Jimmy Butler, but that kind of style of player with that defense. I think he's going to shoot it at least at a league average to respectable level. His shooting numbers at the combine today were, I think he was the best kind of movement 3-point shooter. In their drill they ran today, he was at like 70% from outside. So not saying he's going to be an elite shooter right away, but I think he's going to get there in time. That defense, that versatility, that willingness and identity of just wanting to win and kill your opponents, I think is exactly what Charlotte needs, and fits along Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams really well.
Tyler, you hit on all the on-court points perfectly, but for a team like the Charlotte Hornets and where they've been the last couple of years, even just the intangibles that Steph Castle brings, I feel like makes this pick a home run. You mentioned him sacrificing going to UConn. I remember Coach Hurley told a story during the tournament that basically when he was going to meet with Steph and his family, Stephon Castle was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I just want to come here and win. I've never been a part of a team that's won before. Like, I want to know what it's like to be successful at this level. Whatever you want me to do, like, just tell me. Like, I'm not coming here trying to assert myself in any way. I'll play a role. That's exactly what he did. I think he went through a stretch at the beginning of the season where he didn't even start. So he had no guarantees at being a starter on this team. And like, there's a world in which that goes very poorly for his draft stock. Maybe not him as an individual, and he obviously still would have won a national championship. But if he doesn't have the mentality and mindset that he does, and the approach to the game that he clearly has, like, he maybe doesn't make as much of an impact in a smaller role than what he had ever played in his entire life leading up to this point, much less at the highest level of competition that he'd ever played. And he flashed a lot of the things I feel like in high school that people are asking for him now, or from him now. So, I mean, I feel like this would be an absolute home run. Like, he's somebody that I've gotten like progressively higher on throughout this process. And for a Hornets specific draft board, he might be number 1 or 2, just like where you have him when it comes down to it, because he would be a terrific culture fit.
So I wouldn't be doing my job if I play devil's advocate, right? Okay.
Of course.
So there is a disconnect. You have him 1 in your board, obviously, Tyler. ESPN, I believe, has him going 10th in their mock draft. I'm curious to hear about the disconnect between like the ESPN Draft Express, who generally, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, have been the most accurate projecting mock drafts over the last 3 to 5 years. And what I'm seeing kind of among the draft community who love all the intangible nature. So I'd be really good to get your insight on that, Tyler. The second thing is there are people going around, and I might have contributed to this at one point while watching film early in the season, saying there's Michael Kidd-Gilchrist vibes. And he had all the same, off-court intangibles. He started Breakfast Club at Kentucky where, he turned up and lifted, and the shot was a concern, but we think there'd be something there. And it never came around. He actually had like more size. He was like 6'8", probably, a little bit more versatility playing the 3 and the 4. If you could dispel the differences of where you see the Castle MKG comparisons, that would also be something that I think a lot of people would be interested to hear about.
Yeah, I mean, Castle's mechanics are infinitely better than MKG's ever were. I mean, his were a disaster. Some of those freeze frames with him are just in the pantheon of just, oh my God, what are you doing? I really like Castle's mechanics and touch. I think they're really workable. I think he's, again, not elite shooter, but league average, where if you're leaving him open and the ball swings to him, is he going to be able to knock down a couple? Yeah. If you go way under out of the pick and roll, is he going to be able to knock down 1 or 2 a game? Yeah. So he's not going to be a big time movement shooter or anything like that. But if the defense ignores him, like a Jimmy Butler, like a DeMar DeRozan, like an Aaron Gordon in the playoffs, which is infuriating, is he going to be able to knock down a couple? I think so. Also, he grew up as the offensive initiator, offensive engine, decision maker, playmaker, point guard in high school. So the ball skills, the playmaking, the decision making, all of that is already leagues ahead of where it was for MKG, who is more of kind of just like a toolsy wing forward defensive first guy. So defensively, I think they make a lot of sense. Also, MKG ended up having a pretty darn good career where he stuck around for a while. Obviously, you're going to be disappointed if Stephon Castle ends up being MKG and bounces around all over the place after taking him with the 6th pick. But I think the offensive feel, the decision making, and just that offensive versatility with the passing, the playmaking, the scoring that he's shown at multiple levels already is significantly ahead of where it was for Kidd-Gilchrist.
Chase, where's Castle on your board?
I have him number 7 currently.
Okay, so I have him 6. So and like I agree, in my Hornet specific board, he would be top 5. So I think we're both fans of the pick. You can come back again. Just to touch on that first point, that disconnect in terms of like where they're seeing some of his projections down to 9 or 10. Where do you think you see the upside that maybe some of these other scouts on the public sphere aren't quite seeing it?
Yeah, and it's like some of the team scouts I've talked to have him in that top 3 to 4 range. And it's really, do you think he's going to shoot it at a respectable level or not? And if you don't, I get it. I 100% get it. I don't think that's an unreasonable take to have. And those who have him towards the end of the lottery, they don't believe in the shot necessarily. And those who have him higher, like I do, think it will be at least not a glaring weakness at a minimum. And then they just really buy into everything we've said, the defense, the intangibles, the two-way versatility. So I really think there is that's where the disconnect kind of begins, is whether or not you believe in the shot or not.